So we're talking about function notation, which hopefully you have seen in Math 3, maybe not, but it's super easy. So function notation, we kind of already looked at the other day when we said that f of x equals y. Okay. And so the f just stands for function. So whatever your function is, if it's x squared, if it's a square root, if it's 3x plus 5, whatever the function is. And then x is your input. So that is what you are plugging into the function. What are you plugging into the x value? And then, of course, this is going to be all numbers, or it might be a little phrase, an expression, but then you simplify. And then whatever your answer is your y, and that is your output. And so that's why we can say that f of x and y are the same things. If we're going to plug something in and simplify it, that answer is the same as our y answer. Okay, so let's write a couple of different functions here. So let's say we have f of x equals 5x plus 10. And let's say g of x equals x squared plus 6x minus 4. And if you don't have the Desmos app on your phone, I would definitely download it just so you can just type these in, or you can get a Chromebook if you don't have one here in a minute. So what we're going to do is just find some y values at certain x values. So let's say first we want to find f of 3. So when you have multiple functions, the first thing you have to decide is which one you want to plug into. Well, we want f of 3, so that means we're looking at our f function. So we're just going to take this 3 and plug it into our x value over there on the right. So that'd be like 5 times 3 plus 10. And so then hopefully you can do that at least by hand, but if not, you can type it in Desmos or wherever. So we know 5 times 3 is what? 15. And remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So we have to do our multiplication first. But then we can add, and what's 15 plus 10? 25. Good. So then f of 3 equals 25. And so when you do this function notation and you get f of 3 equals 25, one mistake people will try to make is solve for f and they'll divide by 3. But you don't want to do that because what you have here is a coordinate. So like if we graph this 5x plus 10 on a graph and we went to 3, our y value would be 25. So this is actually the point 3, comma 25. Okay. So what you're doing is you're plugging in an x value, and once you simplify it, your answer is a y value. So again, that gives you this coordinates 3, comma 25. Question on that? Let's look at one with this g. So let's say we wanted to find g of -2. So again, the first thing we want to look at is which function do we want to plug this into, and we're looking at g. So we're looking at this x squared plus 6x minus 4. So the difference in this one is we have two x's. So you want to take that -2 and you plug it into both of those. And then when it's negative, you have to make sure that you put that in parentheses when you square it. So it'll be like this, -2 squared plus 6 times -2 minus 4. And so you want to make sure that you type that -2 in those parentheses, because if you don't, it doesn't square the negative. So there's a difference between -2 squared is -4, but ours -2 squared is +4. So you always want to make sure you put that negative in parentheses. So then we can go ahead and simplify it. Again, we just said -2 squared was 4. How about 6 times -2? -12 minus 4. And then we can just subtract from left to right. So 4 minus 12 is -8. Minus 4 is -12. And then again, that's our coordinate. So when we plugged our x value in, -2, our y value was -12. Now, you can type all of this right here on the right side into Desmos if you aren't sure about simplifying it by hand or you just want to check yourself. So if we do that, we have -2 squared plus 6 times -2 minus 4. Ooh. And there it is. And it's -12, and that's what we got.
Please pardon the interruption. If you are a senior needing senior pictures taken and last name begins with B, please report to the new gym at this time. Again, any senior needing senior pictures, report to the new gym if your last name begins with B. Thank you.
Okay, so not always what you're finding is going to be numbers. So let's say that we wanted to find f of x plus 2. So just like the first one, we're going to plug into f, but instead of being a number, we plug this whole thing x plus 2 in. So it looks like this. 5 times x plus 2 plus 10. And this will kind of prepare us for what we're doing next week. And so if I wanted to simplify this over here on the right side, what would I do first? Yeah, good. So I'm going to distribute this little 5 to the x and to the 2. So then that'll give me 5x plus 10. Oh, sorry, plus, yeah, that's right. And then bring down the plus 10. Then what? Yeah, good. So then I can combine like terms add my 10s, so we get 5x plus 20. Questions on that? Okay, so then the other thing that you need to do with these functions is be able to find the x value when you know what f of x equals, or g of x. So let's say we want to find x if f of x equals 50. No, you wouldn't write a coordinate with it since they both still have x's in them. Yeah, so you just leave it in that form. Okay, so in this one, we want to find what the x value is, and we know what f of x is. So if f of x is 50, instead of plugging in over here on the right side, I'm going to plug that 50 in for that whole entire f of x. So that'll look like 50 equals, and then 5x plus 10. And then from here, we just solve for x. So how could I do that? Good. Good. So first we subtract our 10. That'll give us 40 equals 5x. And then divide both sides by 5. And we get 8. And again, you can always type this stuff in Desmos if you're unsure. You just want to check yourself. And so then this one, we found the x value. So our coordinate would be 8. And then our y value is that f of x, which is 50. So it would be the coordinate 8, 50. Questions? Okay, so let's do one where we want to fill in a table. So let's say we want to fill in the table. And sketch the graph. And so let's say that our table is, again, we got f, we have f of x, sorry, x and f of x, not f. And so let's say we want to find -1, 0, and 1. And then let's say it gives us that 1 f of x value is 5. Okay, So these first three, it gives us the x values. So we're going to take -1, plug it in for x, and then 0, and then 1. So if we do that, we'll have 2 times -1 minus 3. And if I simplify that, what would it be? Yeah, -5. Good. So 2 times -1 is -2, minus 3 is -5. So this first one is at the point -1, -5. And then we'll do the same for 0. So 2 times 0 minus 3. Yeah, good. So then we know anything times 0 is just 0. So that just gives us -3. So that's our point 0, -3. And then we plug in 1. So 2 times 1 minus 3. Yeah, -1. Good. So then we have the point 1, -1. Now in this last one, it gives us f of x, which again, that's already our y value. So we need to find our x value. So I'm going to take this 5 and set it equal to that 2x minus 3. And then how do I solve for x? Yeah, add them. Good. So we add our 3, which will give us 8 equals 2x, and divide by 2. So our x equals 4. So then our last point is at 4, 5. So now let's sketch it. And so hopefully you remember from our parent functions that we did yesterday that if it's just 2x minus 3, it's just a linear. So it should just be a straight line, but let's graph it to make sure. So I have a point at -1, -5, which is about here. 0, -3. 1, -1. And then 4, 5. And then we do want to connect them. And even though we only found points from -1 to 4, this graph keeps on going forever. So we connect them all in a straight line as possible. And then we do want to put arrows on both ends because it does keep on going. So let me show you how to get a table in Desmos. So in Desmos, if you type in this 2x minus 3, of course it automatically gives you the graph. And whether you're on the Chromebook or you're on your phone, you do this the same way. So you see the little settings gear here. You click on that. And then it gives you some other options. This is how you delete it if you want to. You can press that little button in the middle and it'll copy it. But if you press this little table button, it turns into a table. So if we wanted to fill in this table here, we have -1, 0, and 1 already. If you look, -1 is -5. That's what we got. 0 is -3. That's what we got. And 1 is -1. So that's what we got as well. Now, it really only does like the first -2 to 2, but you can keep going. So say you wanted to find that 5, you could say, well, what's the value at 3? Okay, it's 3. What's the value at 4? Oh, it's 5. And so there would be that other point that you were looking for. And so again, I just typed in the function, which you can't go backwards, which I don't like. But so 2x minus 3, click the little gear, and then click on the table. And there it is. Questions? Okay, so what we're going to do first is a little around the room. So there's problems around the room, or there will be here in a second. And so what you're going to do is it gives you 2 functions on each paper. And so you'll start at whatever paper that you want to start on. And so for part A, you'll plug in the number. So like the first one we want to find
Please
f of
pardon
3.
interruption. If you are a senior, last name beginning with C, and need senior pictures taken, please report to the new gym at this time. Again, any senior needing senior pictures taken, please report to the new gym at this time. Last name beginning with C. Thank you.
Okay. So first we'll find f of 3. So you'll take the 3 and plug it into your f. Again, you can do it by hand or you can just type it in. So 6 times 3 plus 2. And that gives us 20. So then part B says G and then your answer from A. So we're going to take that 20 and plug it into G. So 20 squared minus 5. And that gives us 395. So then on one of these other papers at the top, there'll be the answer 395. So then that's what you're going to be looking for. And then once you have done all of them, there's 13. Then your last one should bring you back to wherever you started. Does that make sense?